Hi guys, welcome to the Co-op Couple channel. Now on this channel we are primarily looking at couch co-op local gameplay, and this time we are looking at Baldur's Gate 3. This game is a fantastic local co-op experience that you just cannot cheat yourself out of. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give us a like and a comment, and the Co-op Couple will guide you through all the co-op games out there. Alright, first up we'll show you how to get started, and this setup here is for PlayStation 5, but it's very similar for Xbox. So once you get to the main menu of Baldur's Gate 3 and you want to play with another person on your own couch at home, what you gotta do is you actually have to choose New Game. Now don't pick multiplayer because that takes you into the internet part of the game. So if you want to play just on a couch with two controllers on your PlayStation 5, multiplayer is not the way to go, right? Instead, you go into New Game, like I said, and then you pick your difficulty. And the difficulty is quite important here because there's lots of them to choose. But since there is no lone wolf perk in Baldur's Gate 3 like there is in the Divinity games, if you just want to play 2 players and you don't want to have a party of 4, I suggest you go custom and turn all the difficulties all the way down. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just go with the easiest difficulty. But of course, if you want to play a full party, you can go with any difficulty you want. Alright, after you picked your difficulty, then player 1 will be facing the character creator screen here. So this is the time where player 2 will simply join by pressing X on the second controller. Now make sure you got a profile set up for player 2 before you attempt this, otherwise you're gonna have to do that. So all you gotta do is just turn the controller on, and player 2 will press X or A on Xbox, and the original player 1 will then have to approve the other player joining the game, which is very simple, just press X as well. So once that is done, the second player will simply just load into the screen in their own instance of the game, which is a crazy achievement by Larian here, and as we go on in this video you'll realize just how important this is. So anyway, you both have the full game available in each of your screens, and I'm gonna go a little bit quick through the character creation here, but of course if you're gonna play this game here you want to set up your character exactly the way you want, right? But in this instance here I am just rushing through it so I can show you the actual game. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. And the first thing you will notice once you load into the game is that 2 players, when you are close together, you will share the screen. And player 1 can control the camera, which is excellent. So if one player decides to go further away from the other player, the screen will automatically split. And as an added bonus, once you are in separate screens, you can each manipulate your own camera. So there's plenty of settings for the camera in Baldur's Gate 3, even more than there was in Divinity. And you know, if one player wants to be close to the character and the other player wants to see everything from, you know, the top perspective, that's totally doable. It's totally up to you. But remember, once you get close together again, the split screen will turn into a shared screen and your camera control will be gone. And again, player 1 controls the camera then. Now what I just showed you is our preferred way to play, but of course you can change that in the options. So if you go into options and gameplay settings, you can go down into forced split screen and you can turn forced split screen on. Now what that means is that even if your characters are very close together, the screen will remain in a split. Now I don't particularly like this. I like to share the screen whenever possible, but of course if this is your thing, it's fairly easy to just change. And as you can see here, even though you're right next to each other, the screen remains split. Now one of the main reasons I think you should keep the screen in the shared setting is because in combat it's just a lot easier if you share the screen between 2 players. Now of course you can choose, like here, to have a battle in split screen, but I find that quite confusing, especially with a lot of enemies on the screen, and I just think it makes a lot more sense to play the whole game basically in a shared screen. And again, when you take turns, you also get to control the camera, of course. So this way I kind of keep the overall impression of the battle intact, and all the sort of like weird crazy camera angle switches you get when you play in split screen, they're gone. So I definitely prefer this way to play, and so does my partner. So of course it's up to you which one you prefer. Now, regardless of which option you choose when it comes to split screen, each player will be able to do whatever they want regardless. So for example, here one player is having a conversation while the other one is doing a dice check. So this is where the game just gets so impressive, like I was talking about earlier, because basically you are running two versions of Baldur's Gate 3. And again, I'll just show you here, even though you play in, a shared split screen here, if one player wants to go into the inventory and do stuff, which you do a lot in this game, then it's not a problem at all, because the other player can simply just go on with whatever it is they were doing in the first place, and they can even go somewhere else and they can look in their inventory if they want, or they can go and talk to someone, start a conversation, do a dice check, whatever. There's really no limitations to what you can do. Now this is fantastic, because if you play a game like Diablo 3, for example, only one player can access the inventory at one time, and that's just ridiculous. But Baldur's Gate 3, that's not an issue at all. You can do anything you like. Now, having a conversation as one player can be a little bit awkward in Baldur's Gate 3, because the story is a lot heavier than it was in Larian's earlier games like Divinity, so you'll be doing a lot of talking to people. So one player can of course do the whole conversation in their own split screen, but the other player can walk up, click the same NPC and choose listen. That way you'll see the split screen in full screen, and to me that just makes a little bit more sense. Of course, unless the other player have something they absolutely have to do while this conversation is going on. If the second player gets bored of the conversation, they can just leave. Now that also means that both players can actually initiate a conversation at the same time. Now this is something you should try to avoid, because it's very confusing, and one of the NPCs will be muted, so don't do that basically. So that brings us to the final review of Baldur's Gate 3 as a local couch co-op game, and I must say this is very, very close to perfection. Now, Divinity 1 and 2 are Larian's earlier games, and they actually are just a notch better than Baldur's Gate 3, and that all comes down to the ability to pick the lone wolf skill that allows you to buff two characters if you just want to play with two characters, which most local co-op couples want to do that. So of course, if you have a full party of 4 players, you'll have to mind 2 players each, which can get a little bit annoying. So that's why, in my mind, Divinity is still the better pick. That being said, Baldur's Gate 3 is probably one of the absolute best local co-op games you can possibly find out there. If you have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you must buy this game, and you must buy 2 controllers, and you must play it with your partner, your friend, your uncle, whoever, because it is an amazing experience and it's so much more fun in local couch co-op. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you out there.